Welcome to the Wisdom to Wealth podcast. This is the podcast where we interview the wealthiest entrepreneurs and business owners in the world. I am your host, Shamara Starcox. I'm a TV producer and a marketing coach. My goal is to help 6 and 7 figure business owners create binge-worthy content in order to attract their followers and then convert their followers into customers. Today we have a powerful episode. We have the lovely Sofia with us today. She was voted as one of the top 30 coaches to look out for in 2021 by the New York City Journal. Sophia is a business coach helping ambitious female coaches grow and scale their business. She built $1 million coaching business by the age of 26. That's amazing. In under 4 years organically, and credits her journey to the discovery of the combination of mastering sustainable strategy, simple systems, and seamless sales. She now teaches her clients using her proven process, the scalable system. Sophia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for that intro. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. Let's jump into your story. Take us on your journey from zero to wealth.
Okay, amazing. So I started my coaching business about 5 years ago, and I was 22 at the time, and I was just really struggling to find my purpose. All of my friends that I went to school with, they just knew in school what they wanted to do, and I just could not even find what I wanted to do, let alone then go ahead and make money in it. I was not smart enough to go to university, nor did I feel pulled to do so, because it just didn't make sense for me to choose some random degree like many do, just for the sake of studying it. So I was just working lots of casual jobs. I was working at a cafe. I was cleaning wealthy people's homes, walking their dogs. I was babysitting kids. I was cleaning floors, decluttering homes, you name it. I was doing all of the things to make an extra $20 an hour. And through my own personal development journey, after having gone through a breakup and just then feeling really lost in myself and my confidence and my future, I started reading a lot of books, and eventually that led me to going to personal development seminars. And one day at my first seminar, it was actually a Tony Robbins seminar. It's all about finding your purpose. And I had this breakthrough moment after 4 days of 12 hours a day of learning and breakthroughs and all of the things, that not only was everyone there, or many people there, a coach, but Tony Robbins, who I really looked up to, he was a coach. And I also realized that I had been stuck for such a long time, but in a 4-day period, so much turned around. And I realized, wow, when you have the right approach and you have the right support, you can make really big changes really quickly. And I want others to experience that, so they don't have to feel stuck and lost and not good enough for years like I did. So I decided then and there that I wanted to become a coach to help speed up that journey for other people now that I had the tools to do so. So I hired a coach right then and there to help me become a coach, and I dove straight on in. And then shortly after that, the global pandemic hit, and I was sort of forced into it because all of my work kind of disappeared overnight. And so I jumped on in despite all of the fear and all of the nerves. And I definitely had lots of stories like, what are people going to think of me, and who's going to pay a 22-year-old life coach, and all of the things. But a bit of naivety, a lot of passion, and the circumstances made me just jump into that regardless. And I started signing clients. So I was a mindset coach helping women build confidence, and I very slowly started making money, and I just fell in love with the process. Fast track maybe a year or so, I started having a lot of coaches reach out to me saying, how are you growing your business? I'm trying so hard. It's not working. What are you doing? And for a long time, I would just refer those people to other business coaches and, coaches that I had hired as well. And then one day I realized that I was turning away more people than I was bringing in. And so I thought, why don't I just share with these coaches what I've done to get here? And if that helps them, it helps them. And I started doing that, fell in love with it, and then very slowly transitioned into business coaching. And now I help ambitious female coaches to start, to grow, and to scale their coaching business to those $30,000 month mark, because I believe that it's at that mark that you start to have a lot more freedom and wealth and choice and all of the things. And I far exceeded that point myself. And yeah, now we've done actually over $2 million in the last 5 years, and I'm absolutely loving my life and the freedom and the impact that's come as a result of doing that. So that's kind of my story on how that all happened.
Oh, your journey is so amazing. I want to. There's a couple of things I want to address, but I want you to address this one thing. You said at the very beginning of your journey that you didn't go to college because you weren't smart enough, and that really hit me. Right? Where did that mindset come from? Right? You also talked about like not really having the confidence, so you found yourself working all of these odd jobs. um how did having like a negative mindset or a certain view of yourself hinder you from really moving forward? And then when you started working with coaches, how did that help you to step into your confidence to truly be able to build this $1 million business?
Yeah, great question. So, the belief of not being smart enough or good enough came from a variety of things, but a couple of things that really stand out is one, when I was younger in school, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, if you're familiar with that term. And it's basically just another way of learning. And I honestly wish someone had reframed that to me when I was younger, because then I wouldn't have gone through my entire schooling thinking that there was something chronically wrong with me. But no one said that. Like, they diagnosed it as this like problem, and then I was put in special classes and special sections and getting extra support and tutors for the next several years. And whilst that's a positive thing to get that support, and I'm grateful for that, because it wasn't explained to me properly, my brain just goes to, well, what's wrong with me that I need all this extra help and everyone else is like all together in a group? And so I just felt like there was something wrong with me, to be honest. And I just failed a lot of things. Like, I failed maths pretty much every year of schooling, or got the bare minimum grades anyways. Like, it just was not my strength, learning about things that I didn't understand why I needed to learn it. Because now I'm a great learner. I love learning and I love educating myself. But it's because it's a choice, and I'm learning about things I'm passionate about. Whereas school, I wasn't passionate about those things. And even when we were learning them, like, you're not explained why you need to learn history, why you need to know this maths thing. And so, because it didn't make sense, I would just get really bored. So that's the school side of things. Then the other part of it is that when I turned 16 years old, unfortunately, I found out that my dad had a really severe gambling addiction, and he was just tearing my family apart in many ways. And it actually resulted in my parents splitting up and my mum wanting to move overseas from Australia to where she's from, which is in Denmark in Europe. And so, kind of overnight, my entire life flipped on its head, and I moved to the other side of the world at 16 years old, which was honestly quite traumatic. And I didn't ever used to use that label, but upon reflection, like, the things that happened and how I felt and how my brain processed that, I would label it as that now, just because of all of the in-depth family things that happened, watching how my mum really struggled and processed that, and just how overnight we lost everything: our home, our dog, our dad, all of our wealth, my school, my friends, my culture, my country. Everything was just different. And so the reason why I say I wasn't smart enough to get into university or anything, or college, is because I then suddenly was having to learn a new language, and I finished school in the end in Denmark in another language. So my grades were pretty bare minimum because of that. But I'm really proud of myself that eventually I passed school there, and that I was actually able to pass school in another language. So I'm very proud of myself, but it didn't get me the best grades to enter any sort of degree.
Oh my goodness, I'm just falling in love with your story and just how we're able to pick up these mindsets from life experiences. Like you said, you had dyslexia, and as you said, there's nothing wrong with having it, but no one ever explained it's just a different way of learning. And so now you're walking around thinking, I'm different, something's wrong with me. That mindset is now embedded, so it makes you feel like you can't perform. I remember when I was growing up, or just period, this was just my life. I am one of five. right?
Wow.
5 years, five of us. And my brothers and my sisters, they were all born in the same hospital. They all went to the same schools, and a lot of them are in the same fields. And I am not. I was born in a totally different hospital. I went to a different junior high school. I went to a different high school. I went to a different college. And because of that, I felt like something was wrong with me. I started thinking, oh my goodness, it's because God thinks I'm a follower. That's why I have to go elsewhere. Like, it's just the most bizarre things that pop in your mind that you start to formulate a belief that makes you feel like you're inadequate, right? And then, of course, when we get older, we start realizing these are actually our superpowers, and this is what makes us unique, and this is our personality. So, talk us through when you started working on yourself. How did that help you to, one, see yourself, and two, see that you can actually build this business and help people?
100%, and love your story, by the way. And it's you're so right. It's so funny how our brains jump to conclusions when we're lacking context or information. So that's so interesting. But it's the people that are unique and have these superpowers that go on to change the world. So, but if only we knew that back then. So basically, because of everything that had happened with my dad and my family, it really knocked my confidence, with my future, because I would Google about addiction and it would say, if there's a child that has a parent with addiction, their future isn't very bright, and statistically this and that. And it just really made me feel like, great, my future is just screwed now, basically, because I haven't had a really great teenage experience, and neither of my parents have money. Don't talk to my dad. I do now, by the way. Our relationship is fully healed, but at the time did not. And so I just didn't see a bright future, and it's hard to have confidence when you can't visualize something positive coming from that. But when I finished school, I decided to move back to Australia. That was my dream. I just wanted to be home. That's what felt good. And I was in a relationship at the time, and it was when we broke up that my world kind of crumbled even further, because my belief at the time was that that was the only good thing I really had going for me in my life. I was working a casual bar job, and I wasn't at university, but all my friends were. And because I didn't have that confidence in myself, I was quite dependent on him, I would say. And that was really painful then when that relationship ended. But what that did is that because I couldn't cope with the emotions or how to process that whatsoever, I was really forced to do something about that. Look, I couldn't get out of bed without feeling extremely anxious if I didn't do some sort of meditation. So naturally, I started working on myself because of that. And that's how I started, learning about self-love and mindset and confidence and independence and purpose and all of these things. So if it wasn't for that breakup, I may not have really dove deep into all of that. And it was reading those books, I suppose, from coaches, from mindset experts, from healers and all these sorts of people that, if it wasn't for that, it wouldn't have taken me to that seminar or Tony Robbins books. And then I certainly wouldn't be here. So it's kind of crazy how your pain can turn into your power, and how, like your story can just become a huge part of your message and your purpose and what you do. And so, yeah, I just started falling in love with myself from doing that work, because I was like, I do not want to go through a breakup again. I need to have independence so that doesn't happen. I need to love myself. I need to have a life and not just be so dependent on this one person for happiness. And yeah, I've now been in a beautiful relationship for the last 5 years. And I know that a really big reason why that this relationship is so healthy and fulfilling is because we've both got our own lives, we've both got our own purpose, and we just come together and add so much more to our lives. So yeah, I really learned a lot on these painful moments in my journey, from not being smart in school and having dyslexia and moving to the other side of the world because of my dad's gambling addiction and everything that came from that, and then going through that breakup. I would say that they were some of the big significant events that led me to who I am and where I am today.
Yeah, and it's so powerful because there are many people who go through this type of trauma and give up, but you
Mm,
didn't. Instead, for you, it was like, you know what? I never want to feel this way again. It's like a fire was ignited inside of you. I
like,
never want to feel this way again. So let me feel better about myself. And it wasn't even a first thought of, let me start a business. it was the first thought of let me feel better about myself. And because you started seeking healing, that's when you were able to run into the Tony Robbins conference. And then you decided, I want to help other people. So I love that. Like whenever it comes to us serving people, it always comes from let me heal myself first, and then I can be able to serve other people. So talk us through how you serve your clients now. I know in the past you were doing mindset coaching. I can imagine you're still doing that while although you're helping them to grow their business.
Yeah, absolutely. Mindset plays such a big role in every area of your life, whether it's wealth, health, mindset, like for yourself. Like it plays such a huge role. And so how I help my clients now is like in your beautiful introduction, I teach seamless sales, simple systems, and sustainable strategy. And the reason why I teach them is because I just believe that they are the strongest foundations of what is required to grow. So many people get caught up in stuff that maybe doesn't matter as much, like what's the trending audio, what hashtags do you use, what platform do you need to use, more surface level things. And they spend so much time and energy and money trying to learn that stuff. And it's no wonder coaches and service providers feel so overwhelmed all of the time when they're trying to keep up with fleeting trends, algorithm hacks, and changes. And I think even it's a pretty good example that it wasn't that long ago, just the other day, that TikTok was temporarily banned in the US. Imagine if you had put all your eggs in one basket, you were a TikTok business coach, or you had just done everything on TikTok. Your whole business would be in shambles right now. And so even though I'm not in the US, even if I was, I just wouldn't have been stressed about that situation because that's not what I focus on or how I roll. I'm all about diversification, but I'm also about focusing on what actually matters that can be applied to all platforms. Because if you focus on those little things like the audio and the hashtags and the time to post, sure, that is going to be different from platform to platform. But if you focus on those fundamental things, the root causes, like the quality of your messaging, the specificity of your messaging, your branding, the outcome you provide, the target audience you help, and all of these things, that's what actually matters. And that's what moves the needle. So when it comes to sustainable strategy, I want it to be an approach that my clients can actually commit to and be consistent with, because that's when they're going to get really great results. So not doing a strategy because someone else told you to, but actually because it feels really good for you. Because the truth is that there's many ways to grow your business, and it's just about choosing the one that feels right for you rather than feeling like you have to because you fall for someone's marketing, right? So that's what I mean by sustainable strategy, is that you can do it long term because you actually enjoy it, it feels good, and it's proven to work. Seamless sales is, of course, that component of you can market yourself all day, but if you're never selling your service, making offers, then you're never going to make money. And so many people avoid sales even though they want to make money, because they don't want to come across as salesy or sleazy. But if you have a clear offer, you know how to sell in a really seamless way and in a variety of different ways, then you're actually going to do it, and then you're going to make money. So that's where that seamless sales process comes in. And then simple systems is all about having, an organized back end of your business, templates for things that you do more than once, and just little systems for how you can fast track the process of the task that you're doing to save your time and energy. So I'm a really organized person, if you can't tell from the color-coded background of my bookshelf. I just love organization, and it's saved me so much time, so much money, so much effort. I rarely feel overwhelmed or chaotic in my business. And what I've learned from having coached over 200 coaches now is that that's kind of a rarity. A lot of people feel overwhelmed. A lot of people feel like their business is all over the place and that they struggle to accomplish tasks. And I know with simple systems that just wouldn't be the case. So that's kind of where those three pillars come from and the components within them, and why I believe they're so important.
Oh, I just love that you broke down each one of them. I especially love when you were talking about TikTok. TikTok went away for all of 9 minutes.
I know. Luckily, it wasn't a long time, but there was no guarantees about that, right? They were saying it's not coming back. gone. And if that was to be true for all of the people that had put all their eggs in one basket, were a TikTok coach, or had invested in a TikTok coach, I can imagine would have been feeling really stressed for those 9 minutes.
Exactly. And that's what I love so much about your system, because it's really important that, and this is something that I teach all my clients too, that we don't rely on the platforms to really build our business, right? Like, you use it as an outlet, right? So that you can attract the people. But if you're relying on it, you don't really own any of those platforms, because TikTok's not the only platform that's gone away. There used to be Periscope, there used to be MySpace, there used to be Skonex. Instagram and Facebook glitches at least once a year. So, like, really having a system in place where you don't have to be reliant on social media, but then also being true to you. And I like that you were talking about working the marketing strategies, or working the strategies that align with you. I remember last year for me, I implemented like so many different strategies, right? And as you said, they work, right? But I wasn't in alignment. So my business didn't do the thing that I wanted it to do. And so it's really important that you're in alignment with the strategies that work for you. So, how do you help your clients to stick with their core values, remain in alignment so that they can truly show up and serve their audience?
Yeah, so it starts by educating them on this to begin with, because some of my clients have had other coaches in the past and they have these beliefs that cold DMing, is the way, or Facebook groups is the way, or this is the way. And so I just start with educating them on, hey, I know you've been told by certain people on social media that this is the best way, this is the only way, you're, screwed without this. And I just kind of reframe that and kind of get them to unlearn that, and then teach them the truth is that all of the ways work. If I went all in on cold DMing, it would work. Do I feel good about it? Do I enjoy it? Do I want to do it? No, definitely not. But would it work? Yeah, it probably would work, right? And that goes the same for all of the different marketing strategies out there. And there's a lot. There's so many organic marketing strategies, collaboration-based marketing strategies, and paid marketing strategies. And there's so many options within each of them that you could leverage that would work. But do I like them all? Do I enjoy them all? Do I want to spend time on all of them? Probably not. There are some that are smarter for me, more aligned with me and my strengths. And so first it's about getting clear on your values and your strengths to begin with. And then it's that relearning and unlearning kind of process. And then I'm teaching them, here's all the ways that you can attract your audience. These are the pros and cons of them. And these are the how-tos of them. Here's all of the ways that you can nurture your audience once you've attracted them. And then here's all the ways that you can convert your audience. So I give that big overview to actually teach all of the ways so that they have that education and understanding. And then I have modules, and I personally support my clients based on what they decide out of, those options, and they pick a couple or whatever. I teach them the real how-to of the things that they've decided. And that way, because they've created it, they've chosen it from their education, their awareness, and actually knowing all of their options, they don't go backwards and forwards, they don't start and stop, and they don't change their mind, because it was coming from their truth to begin with. The reason why so many coaches change their mind, stop and start, and really overcomplicate the process is because they filled for someone's marketing that said this is the way. They realized it didn't align, so they stopped doing that, and then they go to look for another process, and it's this whole thing. Whereas if you just create it to begin with from all of your options and the awareness that you have, and you are understanding the pros and cons, you're so much more likely to follow through because it came from your heart. And when I chose a marketing strategy from my heart, after having followed for all of the marketing things, investing in so many different programs and courses, that's when I really went all in, and I saw such a flow and effect of wealth and abundance that came from that.
Oh, I just love that. And I think what happens to a lot of us, we do fall for it because, especially when you're new and you're starting out and people are saying this is the only way and they have the success to match with it, then in your mind, that's what you think. Like when I first started, I remember seeing one of my coaches talking about they have a Facebook group, right? And so I'm like, I need to get me a Facebook group. Then I had another coach who was like, I'm going live. So I'm like, I need to go live, right? And I am just implementing these things and realizing that they weren't working. I mean, lives definitely worked for me, but the other stuff was not working, right? And so it's really important to know who you are. So I like that you started with that. Like, what are your core strengths, right? What is your personality type? Who are the people that you're attracting? Because then you can choose your marketing from that. And then, of course, learning the different ways. So I thought that was super powerful. I think earlier you said that you help your clients get to 30K months. Did you say that? Okay.
Yeah.
What is, I really love that you help do that. I help my clients do that too. So I want to ask you this question. What is one thing that you notice for someone who's at 10K months? What is something that they need to do to shift in order for them to make that leap to 30K months?
hmm Well, there's typically a couple of things potentially, but I would say typically someone that's at 10K, if they've just hit it, that there's a good chance that they're still doing one-on-one coaching. And I would say something that would, in more cases than not, help someone to get to 30K months is just making sure that their offer is scalable so that they can actually bring on more people. So I would say switching from one-on-one coaching to group coaching or a mastermind, and making sure that the outcome is really strong and your pricing is a reflection of that, because even just increasing your pricing can really help. And then it's really just about starting to double down on the things that helped you get to 10K and just double down on them. And now it's about mastery, because you don't really accidentally get to 10K. Sure, some people can have a little moment here or two, but if you're consistently at 10K per month, that's not by accident. That's something to be really proud of. And if you double down on a few things there and commit to mastery, shift to group coaching, increase your pricing, even that alone will help you get to 30K months. But like, that being said, there is a big difference between 10K a month and 30K a month. Like, it's $20,000 difference, which also doesn't happen by accident. But there is this beautiful ripple effect that can happen, when you're just in business for the long run, you're consistent, you're showing up, you're putting in those reps. Like, you can get there with having a really great offer, a really solid strategy, and just going all in on that. But yeah, increasing your pricing, group coaching so you can actually hold more wealth, and even that mindset and embodiment work. Let's talk about energetics for a second outside of strategy. It's really important that you are an energetic match for what it is you want to bring in. So you have to believe it's possible for you. You have to feel worthy of it. You have to show up like someone that is making $30,000 a month is doing. They're not doubting themselves on a daily basis. When I was at 10K a month, I was still doubting myself a fair bit. I was like a bit of an emotional roller coaster. Certainly something did shift when I finally hit 10K months versus prior to that, but I still had my moments of fear and doubt for sure. Whereas at 30K months, I'm so much more regulated and confident and have a lot of evidence behind me that I've been able to do that before and so forth. So it's really that embodiment piece that is so, so important when it comes to increasing your wealth.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say that. I had someone else on the podcast, and she helps her clients get to 50K months, so from 30K to 50K. And she talked about the one shift is a mindset shift. She said, whatever you're doing at 30K, it's not going to get you to 50K. Your mindset have to shift. And you talked about two things. You talked about one, mastering what you're doing. So that was important, right? So really refining it, not trying to keep implementing new things. Because sometimes you hit 10K months and you start thinking, I got to implement new to reach more. But you didn't even talk about reaching more. You really talked about going within. Okay, if I'm doing one-to-one, I need to do one-to-many, which means I need to shift my offer so that it's scalable and I'm serving more people. Okay, if this is what I'm teaching, let me become the master of this, because if people see me as the master at this, I will attract more people. And then really having the energy for it, right? Having the mindset for it, having the positioning for it, really believing I can hit 30K months. And what does that look like when I'm showing up? I just love that you talked about that, because when it comes to building wealth, it's not just the skill set. I actually came up with this math the other day. It's probably not new, but in my mind, I was like, this is amazing. But it really is mindset, skill set, and assets that's really going to help you to build that wealth. So I love that you hit on each one of it so that you can get to 30K months. So I want to say thank you for saying that. Did you want to add anything before I ask you my last question?
No, I just agree with you. Like mindset is so important. When I look back at the big leaps that I've had, or jumps in business, it's really come from that embodiment piece, and that's something I'm always working on. Is if I want to be a seven-figure coach, well, what does a seven-figure coach do? What do they focus on? How do they show up? How do they invest in themselves? How do they make decisions? How do they handle conflict? How do they handle challenges? Because it's one thing to show up when everything's going great, but how do you show up when things aren't going great? Because it's kind of like how sometimes you hear people say more money, more problems. And whilst I don't like to dive too deep into that belief, I can understand where it's coming from the lens of the more money you make, the more opportunities there are also to be able to hold the opposite of things going wrong. If you've got more team, more clients, more things going in and out, of course there is more opportunity for things to also go wrong. And if you can't hold the lows, the downtimes, the struggles, then how can you hold the highs? Because I really believe that God or the universe is not going to give us anything that we can't truly handle. So if you're presented with a challenge and you can't handle it, then you can't handle more. You can't handle those 30K months, those 50K months, those 100K months, because you have to be able to hold equal parts of the opposite if and when that arises.
Oh, girl, we are at time. Why did you say that? Because I want to touch on it. Like, it's so good. Like, really, who is this person, even when there are low moments? Because sometimes when we think about, okay, I want to hit 30K months or 100K months, right? Who do I need to be? Oftentimes, I only think about people, I only hear people talking about like the good qualities, right? I got to be confident and I got to be this. And then you talk about the good moments, right? In showing up, but also in the low moments when the money's not coming in the way you expect, or when you have a team that don't know what they're doing and you're not realizing that you're not communicating well. Like, still, how do you show up then? So I just thought that was so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so let me ask you this question. For those who are listening and they are so impressed with what you're saying, they really love it, how can they work with you?
Yeah, thanks so much. Well, I would love to connect with them and see where they're struggling and what it is they're wanting and all the things. But really, there is only one way that coaches can work with me, and that is inside my program, Scale School. It's a 12-month mastermind for ambitious female coaches to help them get to those 30K months. And I have 3 different tiers dependent on what people are focused on and their investment capabilities and how closely they would like to work with me. And it's just such a beautiful community. We have about 200 members in there at the moment, just doing such big things. So yeah, Scale School is the way to work with me. And you can just reach out to me on Instagram at Sofia Rose Bernardi, or your preferred platform of contacting me on, and just have a chat about where you're at and what you're wanting. And if Scale School is the right fit for you, then we can go from there.
Awesome. I did drop the link in the chat for those of you who are tuning in. You can just copy and paste it right there on Instagram. If you are on YouTube, you can copy it from here, but it's also flashed on the screen right now so that you can actually work with Sofia. Also follow her. She is amazing. I mean, everything that she shared today was just so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, Sofia. Thank you for blessing us with wisdom, so that now we can turn that into wealth. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. We do have one more episode for the week. Tomorrow, we have someone who's coming who's also going to be sharing his journey, how he is an ex NFL star, built a $20 million business, and then it all fell apart. It all fell apart, yeah, because of the mindset, as we were talking about today. So that's what we'll be talking about tomorrow. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day.